Happy MLK Day. After a 15-month layoff, it only took 40 seconds for Conor McGregor to get his name back in the headlines. This is episode 109 of Combat Sports Talk. Let's get into it. Welcome to Combat Sports Talk, a podcast dedicated to UFC and Bellator discussion, the MMA community, and combat sports in general. I'm your host, Ryan Smith, and joining me this week is the double champ, George G-Money Stallworth. What's up?
All right, man. How you doing tonight, bro?
Man, I am excited. We finally got to see the return of Conor McGregor. He is back. He is back with a vengeance. Everybody's talking about it, but the haters are talking about it too. So we're going to get all into it. But before we get talking about UFC 246, you know what we got to do? We got to shout out the Lion and the Crown in Allen, Texas.
Absolutely, man. Man, what did you think of the venue? What did you think of the night all around? I mean, a lot of folks probably don't realize it who listen to the regular part of the show. They probably didn't know we did a live event, our first live event at Lion and Crown on top of that. And they rolled out the red carpet for us, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. It was a great night. You know, we got the entire stage to set up. We set up big stand lights. We had cameras. We had all kinds of stuff. They were so friendly and so helpful. We were there broadcasting live. And the best part is we are coming back February 8th for John Jones versus Dominic Reyes at Lion and the Crown in Allen, Texas. Join us there if you want to see what we do in person.
Absolutely. Or just come out and watch the fights, if nothing else. Maybe you don't want to see my ugly face. But guess what? You can go watch John Jones with us at Lion and Crown. So come on out.
All right.
I don't know if I told you this. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Michigan and I met Winklejohn. I got to hang out with him.
Really?
We actually went down to 8 Wings together. Yes.
All right. So tell me a little bit about him. What kind of guy is he?
We might be doing something together soon. Tell you what?
Tell me a little bit about him. Like, what is he cool? Is he like cerebral? Is he just full of experience? What's he like?
Hella cool, man. Like, just real laid back, real chill. He had one of his fighters there. He was cornering that night. The main event, he was cornering his fighter for. But, I mean, later that night, we got to talk, chum it up, exchange phone numbers, man. One of the coolest coaches I've ever met, man. He actually sounded like he was more interested in learning or picking up some things from me as opposed to me. I hit him up and I want to go out there and maybe shadow him as a coach. Mm-hmm. Just to, add some things to my game as a coach because I'm a fairly new coach in the MMA scene and things like that. So I'm always looking to pick up new things or to learn from the veterans in the game, man.
Right.
But he was just so chill and cool. He was like, hey, I'd like to maybe pick up some things from you. And that made me feel good inside. He was very uplifting, man. I can see why he's such a great and phenomenal coach.
All right. Well, that is super awesome. The thing is that I have to say about any coach, even you, like the way that you guys see the fight and how it goes versus me sitting in the audience just yelling my head off, like seeing it in a very cerebral way, picking apart what someone is doing from a tendency perspective. It's difficult if you're not a fighter who's done it, if you're not a coach who's trained fighters and watched movement of a human in this combative sport, to be able to see how to coach your fighter through this three-dimensional chess.
Dude, so, you always hear people say there's levels to fighting. Like you see amateurs, you see pros, and then you see the elites. There is definitely levels to coaching, man. And over the past year, I've told you I've really tried to step up my coaching game. I've been out to a few different places to advance my skills as a coach. And I really got to see that there truly are levels to this. I mean, here in the DFW my coaching game, I've been out to coaches already that I met, seen, worked with, watched them work and things like that, man. But being able recently to travel and really get to meet and work with some elite coaches has really shown me that there are levels to this. There are ways to get your fighter where you want them to be. And everybody's not able. Everybody's not on the same level when it comes to coaching, man.
All right. Well, when it comes to saying that there are levels to this, we got to get into our headliner. All right, this is our headliner. This is the topic that we are talking about, everybody's talking about, and that is the main event of UFC 246, Conor McGregor versus Cowboy Cerrone. This fight only lasted 40 seconds, but we have a lot of things to say about this fight. So, George, you want to break down what happened in the fight?
So, from the get-go, man, Bruce Buffer made the announcement. I think, what was it? The buffer zone factor was...
The buffer factor.
Bruce went a full,
almost 3 minutes.
3 minutes or 3.5 minutes?
Yeah, so
right.
Bruce Buffer's intro was about 2 minutes and 57 seconds based on my timing. I mean, give or take a few seconds. But, yeah, almost 3 minutes of an intro.
So, exactly after Bruce Buffer finished his intro and that bell rang, 40 seconds later, Bruce Buffer was back announcing Conor McGregor as the victor. A lot of people felt like Cowboy took a dive, but to give you some play-by-play action on it, man, round opens up, Conor comes out, immediately launches a rocket of a left hand. I mean, it was, if this had touched Cowboy, I'm sure it would have rocked him. But fortunately for Cowboy, it missed. What didn't miss was the slap knee that followed. It wasn't a clean knee by no means. I think it was actually more thigh, and it kind of slapped him right across the neck. Maybe it startled him a little bit. But when he came up, they came up in the clinch, and Conor immediately went to throw on his left shoulder 2 times. And I actually believe he broke Cowboy's nose as a result of those 2 shoulder.
It's alleged right now. It hasn't been confirmed because Cowboy said that it busted his nose. Many people are reporting that it broke, but I haven't found an updated report to confirm that it has been broken. But there was definitely bleeding coming from his nose after those shoulder strikes. Go ahead, continue.
That first shoulder strike was off the chain. The second one I don't think was all that clean or all that damaging, but I mean, when you go back and watch the replay, it was almost in slow motion, and you could see Cowboy's expression when he caught that first shoulder strike, because I don't think he was anticipating that at all. He probably thought he was in a safe zone, wasn't able to be struck. And boom, gets hit with this hard left shoulder strike, man. That cleared the space up, and as Cowboy backed up, I think Cowboy might have gotten off thrown one punch, but right as he did so, Conor comes up with the left head kick. Oh, my God. The head kick, looking at it, it was devastating. It did land, but it felt like it was more quick. I don't think it was damaging in the sense of this rock Cowboy, but what it did was push his head off to his left off the center line. And you hear me talk about this a lot. When guys get off the center line, that's when it's easy to knock people out. Conor immediately followed up with strikes, and the next thing you know, Herb Dean is intervening, and that fight is over 40 seconds later.
Yep, and that was it. So, the thing is for me, every time we get to a main event, especially one that has this much attention, I always calculate the buffer factor. The buffer factor is this. It's a rule that we made, that we coined at Combat Sports Talk, that says a fight should last at least as long as it takes to announce it. Otherwise, you've been embarrassed. You failed the buffer factor. And tonight, or Saturday night, Cowboy Cerrone got embarrassed because he could have been knocked out 4 times, almost 4.5 times, before Bruce Buffer finished announcing the fight. That's a factor of 4 on the buffer factor. So, what can I say? Cowboy Cerrone got defeated. Conor McGregor looks like a world beater again. The one thing that everybody's talking about, and they were talking about this before they got to the fight on Saturday night, is was Cowboy going to take a dive? Was Cowboy going to intentionally lose this fight so that Conor McGregor might look larger than life? So that's what we're going to talk about first. Is this is a 40-second fight. This is a fighter who's had about 50 fights. He's got all kinds of experience, been in all kinds of wars, and then he goes and he does things that are at least uncharacteristic of a fighter who really wants to win a fight. Typically you want to take a fighter where they're uncomfortable, not fight a fighter where they are comfortable. You've got to be a next level fighter to be able to say, you know what, my strength is X, his strength is Y, I'm going to fight him in Y. John Jones did it with Thiago Santos, and it was a very technical fight that really put John Jones in some danger. It's not a wise thing to do. It's better to have that George St. Pierre kind of style where it's like, oh, you can't wrestle? I'm going to wrestle you. Oh, you can't strike? I'm going to punch you in the eye, Josh Koscheck. That's the kind of thing that we expect to see. A fighter take advantage of the other fighter's weaknesses. But Cowboy Cerrone was coming into this fight saying, Conor McGregor is known for his striking. I'm going to stand and bang with him, even though Conor has lost all his fights to submission, and I just happen to have a strong jiu-jitsu game. So,
Man, even on top of that, so let's say Cowboy, he got rocked right out the gate, falls to the mat, falls to the floor. He did some things very uncharacteristic of a fighter of his caliber. But when you go back and look at Cowboy's history, often when he gets pressure, he does some things uncharacteristic of a fighter of his caliber. You remember a couple of fights ago, there was an episode where Cowboy, I think someone busted his nose pretty badly.
Tony El Kukui Ferguson.
And he blew his nose in the middle of a fight. Much to the chagrin of his corner and everyone else who probably already told him, do not blow the nose. And a fighter with the veteran record that Cowboy has knows to not blow the nose. He did. Almost like a rookie mistake. Same thing in this fight, man. Cowboy dropped to the floor. A fighter's immediate instinct is when you're getting pummeled by someone, especially in ground and pound, grab that individual. Cowboy didn't do that. He shelled up on the ground. He actually went right here, totally, in order to avoid strikes from Conor of all people. That was very uncharacteristic of someone of his caliber.
So when we start talking about these uncharacteristic things, the fact that Donald Cerrone wanted to stand and fight with a guy who is an elite striker, that Donald Cerrone wanted to had an opportunity to take Conor down. When you were saying that when Conor threw that first punch and his Conor ran into him, basically his thigh hit him across the neck, that is Cerrone's already ducked down. He's already got his arms out around to be able to do a takedown. At that point, this fight could have been 40 seconds the other way. But he chose to clinch. And that brought about this beginning of the end. And then, like you said, he's covering up instead of actually grabbing or at least retreating. Like we've seen fighters try to retreat when they're rocked, but no, he just shelled up. He just turtled up. So the question is to you, bottom line, do you think Cowboy Cerrone threw this fight?
I don't think that he threw the fight. Like I said, he's done some uncharacteristic things before in the past. And so I think his nerves got the better of him, and he for lack of a better word, he effed up. I don't think he threw the fight by any means. Cowboy's been a veteran of this game way too long. Unless I can't see him throwing this fight. So I can understand why people are having those thoughts. They look at the build up to the fight, the lack of trash talking, the almost somber attitude Cowboy had all the way up into this. And it's probably one of the biggest paydays he's ever had.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, well, maybe there's a financial incentive to do this. I was talking to the guys at work all morning, and they were like, well, could he have thrown it? Is it financial? And I'm like, yeah, man, this dude made $2 million on this fight. No, I'm looking at the official payouts. Conor made millions. Conor made $3 million as base pay. Cowboy Cerrone only $200,000 in base pay. So there's no financial incentive to make the business decision, a la Bob Sapp, to say, I've been rocked. I'm making more money than I've ever made. This is good. No, this is a $200K fight for Cowboy Cerrone. He fought for $155,000 against, I think, Tony Ferguson. So it's like,
wow,
the discrepancy is shocking.
I had heard some different numbers being tossed around in reference to that, and to hear the official payout for Cowboy wasn't even $1 million is that's news to me. And I don't remember where I heard these other payout numbers from, how official they could or could not have been. But at one point, I heard that Conor was going to wind up with making over $80 million on this fight. and a Cowboy would be making around 2 to 3 million.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought it was around 2 to 3 million, but maybe that's the loaded amounts, right? That includes pay-per-view points. That includes Reebok sponsorships and all these things, because we don't get to see those dollars. They only announce what the contracted amount is with the Nevada State Athletic Commission. So the base salary for Conor was $3 million. The base salary for Cowboy was $2 million. Maybe he made the business decision because he's got all these other dollars coming in through these other avenues. But at the end of the day, it's really kind of one of those things where it's like when you have the potential to make as much money as he was making in the fourth largest pay-per-view of the in history. Why fight for 5 more rounds when your bell is rung, your nose is potentially busted, you've got a black eye? Why keep fighting? So do you think maybe – because I think people have been asking me, did he throw the fight? I say no. I think he just gave up. So do you think that Conor caused Cowboy to just give up, cut his losses, and say, I'm just going to turtle up and make this cash?
I think he did give up. I don't think that the damage he sustained was damage that would have normally made a fighter shell up and give up like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he threw the fight by no means. I'm going to have a hard time believing that Cowboy would ever throw a fight. This is the guy that steps up to take fights on days' notice. This is a guy that the UFC has always been able to call on. And he goes out and he gets his best performance. And we know that Cowboy has performance anxiety issues as well. This was the biggest fight of his life, man. Red Panty Night is as it's known. No, I don't see him, throwing that fight.
Okay. Yeah. And let's just for other people out there, throwing a fight means you are the favorite and you choose to lose the fight intentionally. Like Conor McGregor was the favorite. If he would have lost in 40 seconds, then we could be like, maybe Conor threw this fight. But no, Cowboy's the underdog. So throwing a fight as the underdog is just grammatically incorrect. So I think that it's probably he quit. He saw what was happening and he said, I'm done.
Well, there is that other theory, not theory, but that other school of thought out there that Cowboy had more weapons to win this fight. And so in that sense, I can understand why some people could say, hey, this was rigged. You get what I'm saying? Cowboy had way more ways to win this fight.
Mm-hmm.
Conor, for the most part, people believe only had one, his left hand.
And it worked.
It turned into his left shoulder.
Right. He was funny at the post-fight press conference. Conor was like, people say I only have a left hand. Well, now I got a left shoulder too. It's like, you got a left head kick too.
Yeah.
So, that I think we put that to bed. Next question is, what's next for Cowboy? I mean, this is his third loss in a row now. Where do you go from here?
I don't know, man. I don't want to see Cowboy retire, but I don't want to see him keep taking losses either. He's a game of fighter. I mean, Cowboy is an elite fighter. He's an elite striker. So when I hear people say, hey, his striking compared to Conor's is two different things, I don't know if I see that necessarily. And I don't want to see him continue taking losses. If maybe another fight, and if he gets right like this, I think his last 3 fights have all been stoppages.
Yeah.
So, maybe there's something else in the cards for him, but I don't want to see him just be a journeyman, the rest of his career either. I don't want him to do that. I don't know what the next next role for him is. Maybe.
Okay. So let's talk about Conor McGregor. Now, Conor McGregor has a lot of options now. Being off for 15 months, nobody wants to give Conor a fight, even though he's talking about wanting to get in there with Khabib. Now that he has won this fight in convincing fashion on a massive stage, he's got tons and tons and tons of options now. So let's go through some of them. All right. So the first one is what Dana White wants. Dana White wants a rematch between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Conor McGregor. He said basically if Conor beats Cowboy, he gets a title shot with Khabib Nurmagomedov. Number one, do you think Conor should get another title shot against Khabib Nurmagomedov, even though he got submitted in the 4th round and won 0 match rounds as far as I'm concerned against Khabib Nurmagomedov?
I don't know why I don't see fumes raising up out of your ears at the thought of him getting a rematch with Khabib.
Oh, it is. I just have headphones on. It's suppressing it inside. Like I think this is ridiculous to say. How do you fight? How? Woosah. Okay. How?
Brian, I thought you wanted to hear from me.
I'm sorry. I did that on
purpose, man. I'm sorry.
I got to channel my Kanye right now. I'm gonna let you finish. But how do you fight a welterweight fight and get a title shot at lightweight? How does that even happen? That doesn't. I don't even get it.
Per the words of Dana, this was a lightweight fight that they just didn't cut weight. I love Dana White should have been a pimp.
I don't know what to say about it. It's a lightweight fight where they didn't cut weight. So does that mean that you can defend the lightweight title and just not cut weight? We're gonna fight at welterweight, but this is for the lightweight title.
So, like you said, option number 1 is Khabib. Honestly, I don't want to see them run back. We're going to see the same story as before in that fight, man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Conor has upped his skill level enough on the ground to deal with the chain wrestling monster that is Khabib Nurmagomedov. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, Nurmagomedov. Yeah,
close even.
Yeah, you're good.
All right. Yeah, Conor versus Khabib. I don't think we're going to see much different in that.
Okay.
Now, but the part we're not playing through in this is Khabib has a mighty, mighty big task in front of him in the way of Tony Ferguson already. So while we're over here thinking lightweight rematch between Khabib and Conor, it might be our friend that likes to call Conor McNuggets.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So Tony Ferguson is a game opponent for Khabib Nurmagomedov. It could be Tony beats Khabib, and I don't know. Someone was asking me, well, what happens if Tony beats Khabib? They're going to run it back. Like Khabib's still one of the most dominant fighters at at lightweight. So who are you gonna put in front of Khabib? You gonna put Conor? Really? Even though Khabib has a win over Conor? So
depends on how the fight goes between Khabib and Tony.
In the UFC, the ladder is stupid. There is no ladder. It's like the Matrix. There is no spoon. It just doesn't make sense how you're picking fights. It should make sense. We should be able to look at a fighter and say, you are better than this person right here, so therefore you deserve a title shot. But if you can go and fight at 170 pounds and earn a title shot at 155 when you haven't fought in 15 months and the last fight you fought was against the guy...
Woosah.
Okay, I'm down. I'm calm.
Tony Ferguson convincingly
I'm calm.
handles Khabib, and we see no reason for a rematch. Let's say he finishes Khabib in top fashion. There's no need for a rematch. El Kakui versus Conor, also known as McNuggets, makes sense. There's history there. There's been trash talking there already.
Okay, I mean, it's fair. It's fair. It's normal.
I'm just saying if it happens that way. But what I do want to say is I love how Dana White is discounting Tony Ferguson in this fight already. He's like, hey, the next fight for Conor is Khabib. He's like, whoa, really? If I'm El Kakui right now, I'm taking notes on that. Oh, Dana, you're going to write a big check for me based on that statement. I'm going to make you eat those words.
Right.
You just discounted me in this fight.
Okay, so let's assume that cooler heads prevail. Because, by the way, Habib and his dad, said that they are not fighting Conor McGregor unless they're getting $100 million out of it. So they're trying to set up a huge barrier to say, this fight should not happen. So let's assume that we can't make that work. Let's assume that Khabib is like, no, I'm not going to fight Conor without Conor actually fighting at 155. Here are some of the other options for Conor. He could potentially fight Jorge Masvidal, the BMF, because he said, you know what, I don't really like the fact that the BMF isn't gold, but it's a belt. I'll fight him for it. So what do you feel about Conor staying at 170 and fighting Jorge Masvidal, which Jorge said he would fight? He said he would do it because Usman and the title will always be there, but Conor may not.
In the words of Jorge, Dana White don't want me fighting that little guy.
You don't. Yeah, Dana White's already said no.
Dana White does not want me to destroy his champion.
Do not break my toy is what Dana White is saying. Do not break my toy, Jorge Masvidal. All right. And Jorge's calling out Conor. Do you see him wearing the Versace robe?
Yes, I did see that.
Like, he's a no shirt, just wearing a robe. I hope he had pants on, man. Like, hope he's not just walking around in his tidy whities in a Versace robe and a BMF belt. Like, come on, man.
I love the way Jorge is marketing himself right now.
So
I love it. Dude, he's walking. His YouTube channel is off the chain right now. I need to go peep out his Instagram. I wonder if he's doing anything on Instagram. But if you hadn't had a chance, man, go to YouTube, check out Jorge Masvidal. He's putting out mad videos left and right, just of his life, things he's got going on. He's talking about this mezcal liquor that he's supporting or offering up right now. Jorge Masvidal, this is his time, man. He definitely is earning his spot in the spotlight.
All right. Here's the next option. Kamaru Usman. What do you think about that? Now, this one is a long shot because, of course, why would Kamaru Usman? Why would he get a title? I mean, ridiculous things have happened. Let me just say, but why would Kamaru Usman give a title shot to Conor McGregor other than the fact that it's money in the bank, right? But Conor is also talking about possibly going for the welterweight title. That way, he's got one at featherweight, one at lightweight, and then one at welterweight. First three-time UFC champ. Three weight class.
BJ Penn do that? Didn't BJ Penn do that?
BJ Penn had a lightweight, maybe a welterweight. I don't know if he had featherweight though. That's a verifiable fact. Stand by. Another option for Conor, Justin Gaethje.
Well, let's go back. I want to address the Kamaru Usman fight.
Okay, all right.
Conor don't want that smoke. Conor is known to have cardio issues. Did you see Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman go
that was fire.
how many rounds?
5 rounds.
Whoa. Yeah, Conor, step in there with him if you want to. That Nigeria nightmare is going to, whatever. I don't even want to say what he's going to do. But no, Conor does not want that smoke. He does not have the cardio to fool with Nigerian nightmare. And number two, I don't think Conor definitely, if he couldn't deal with Khabib wrestling, imagine a 15-pound heavier guy with wrestling just as good.
So yeah, I mean,
no. I tell you what, Conor, if you want to get in there and practice for Khabib, maybe, go down and train with Kamaru. That's what you should be trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's it right there. So I don't think that's a good one. I think that Dana White would not be so brazen as to give Conor a welterweight title shot. Just not without fighting other people. Maybe get him in there with Robbie Lawler or Stephen Wonderboy Thompson before you go in there and try to maybe, Leon Edwards or Tyron Woodley. He's got to fight somebody who's actually a welterweight. Because clearly,
if I'm Dana,
yeah,
and my pimp game is strong, I let Jorge fight Usman. Yeah. Jorge wins against Usman. Honor Jorge. That's a better fight for that belt.
Okay.
And we can put 2 belts on the line, the BMF and the 170. Conor can claim, I'm a 4-division weight champion. I'm just saying, watch. That's the way that needs to play out.
What's crazy to me is the way champion is even just being thrown around, because Conor's like, he's saying like, that Cowboy Cerrone holds all these records about finishes and title bonuses. That's like they should give him a belt for that. It's like, man, are we giving belts out like candy now? Is that what we're doing?
I'm just saying, the better fight to make, the one that makes more sense. Let Kamaru and Jorge settle whatever, and Dana White should hope or want Jorge to win, and then have Jorge Conor go at it.
Okay. All right. So what about this one? Justin Gaethje, an actual 155-pound fighter. Like, Justin Gaethje is mad. He's the guy that's been left out. If you don't know, Justin Gaethje is one of the most violent people in the UFC. This guy will stand and bang with you. He will take punches. He eats knuckle sandwiches for lunch. Like, this is that guy. And he's like, I just want to get my hands on Conor. Like, you don't have to pay me much. I mean, I don't need $80 million. I don't even need $15 million. Just let me get my hands on Conor, and that is the guy that, like, after Jorge Masvidal, Dana White is really trying to keep Conor away from Justin Gaethje, because the allure, the luster of Conor McGregor and the invincibleness will go away. Because even if Conor is a more talented striker than Justin Gaethje, there's always that puncher's chance that guy is going to land a bomb that puts you out. Ask Cowboy.
I want to study Gaethje a little bit more in the sense of him fighting Conor, see how he's done against Southpaws previously. I don't know. I'll reserve to make judgment on that one. If I had to call it right out the gate here, I like Gaethje's chances in it, but I think Conor can put him away.
Okay.
I think that left hand, Conor's got the touch of death in there. And if he gets him with one or two of those, I think he can put Gaethje away. Gaethje's known for being a survivor, for being tough, his nails and things like that. Mm-hmm. But, there are some guys that just have unbelievable power in those hands. And until you run across one of those guys, sometimes you don't know what you're stepping into.
All right. Let's see here. Poirier. We got Poirier. You could fight Dustin. They could run that one back. Dustin Poirier fought Khabib Nurmagomedov for the title there. You got Nate Diaz. Then you got other people, outliers like Max Holloway. You got Floyd Mayweather, who's actually putting his name back in. And you heard him mention it in the post-fight press conference, Manny Pacquiao. So many options for Conor McGregor that just coming back and fighting one fight for 40 seconds, this guy, basically the world is his oyster. That is an amazing, amazing thing. So we already... Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So we already mentioned Jorge Masvidal wearing the Versace robe like Conor did during the pre-fight stuff with Mayweather, because Conor had done it first. This was basically a call-out by Masvidal. Then there's also Kamaru Usman. His Twitter account started spewing all kinds of vitriol at Conor McGregor. Very, very vulgar, explicit things about him, his training partners, all kinds of stuff was being said.
This is 2 weeks in a row we had to discuss the N-word.
Right. And so this came out from Kamaru Usman's Twitter account, and then later it was announced that the Twitter account had been hacked. When Conor was asked about it, Conor said that was Kamaru Usman's manager, Ali Abdelaziz. Yeah, Abdelaziz. Ali Abdelaziz. That's Conor's manager, because Conor has that's Kamaru Usman's manager. Conor has a big beef with Ali. And so what we know is that Ali has access to his fighters' Twitter accounts and has been known to post tweets from his fighters on behalf of their fighters using their accounts.
Ali also manages one Khabib Nurmagomedov as well.
Right.
So this is warfare going on. This is the behind-the-scenes warfare going on. I do believe that Ali Abdelaziz probably had something to do with that. If not all of those tweets, maybe some. But I think Dana White mentioned that they're pretty certain that Usman's accounts were hacked, because not only that, they got into his bank account and some other things.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
how that works, but okay. Well, this is coming from Dana. I hadn't verified it. I don't know that to be true, but this is what Dana was spitting out. And of course, this could be Dana White being a pimp. Like, let me help build this fight too. Because the real deal is Ali Abdelaziz is. We're seeing proxy warfare going on Khabib's behalf. What Ali is saying is really the feelings of Khabib. Kamaru, we know that Conor's not going to want that smoke. So starting the mess between them isn't really going to happen. The bigger fight is Khabib and Conor. And Ali is just in the middle of it, trying to amp Conor up, trying to get him out of the role he's taking on right now, being quiet, being reserved, being a much more respectful martial artist. And so he figures if he riles Conor up, Conor gets in trouble, does some things that he probably shouldn't do. He's off of his game plan for this fight.
Well, I mean, there you go. I mean, those are the chess moves that are taking place in the UFC. We're gonna have to sit and keep watching and seeing what happens about that. So that's it. That's all our coverage of UFC 246. Just the main event, just the Conor Cowboy stuff. Let's get into the official decision so we can talk about the other fights, because there were 4 other fights on that card. Official decision, and this is where we're talking about those other fights that took place on the card. So you were saying that the first fight was actually the feature fight of the undercard, which was Maycee Barber versus Roxanne Modafferi. Roxanne Modafferi walked away with the victory, unanimous decision victory over Maycee Barber. Now, I just want to go back and say, I have been a Roxanne Modafferi fan for a very, very long time. It's not just about the fact that she is a great fighter, but it's also about her personality, the way she approaches the game. She approaches it with a level of respect and honor that many fighters just simply don't have. And so this is one of those times where we got to see her perspective on the fight and the fight game and what honor is and what respect is on display, because in the second round, she throws a short jab very early in the second round. Maycee, I don't even think the jab lands, but Maycee moves out of the way, and when she does, she rips her ACL. And it is a full tear. She is without a leg at this point. I mean, it's still attached, but inside, all kinds of damage. And she has to still survive almost 5 minutes worth of fighting against a game opponent who knows how to use the ground to her advantage, and that's in Roxanne Modafferi. Well, Maycee Barber struggles, but she actually is able to get a couple of reverses, does a couple of punches, but at the end of the day, Roxanne Modafferi asserts her dominance, actually bloodies Maycee Barber up, and as we get to the end of the second round, it's unknowable whether or not Maycee can continue. The doctor comes in and actually, checks her knee, which looks like it would be excruciating. And Maycee Barber stands up and says, I can go. So she has a shredded ACL, and she stands up, and she is going to fight 5 more minutes. Talk about heart. I mean, George, have you ever been that injured and decided that you were going to continue to go 5 more minutes against a game opponent like Roxanne Modafferi?
I've torn my ACL in a basketball game, and my body immediately went into shock, and I threw up. There was no way I was going to continue.
Wow. So
to see her do that, and then the doctor, on the other hand, I don't know if you heard the voice. I wouldn't call them voiceovers, but they actually had a mic on that doctor at some point, and he told the referee that it's a partial tear, and she can go on. He said she can go on. Yeah, they had that mic'd up. That was said by that doctor. We found out afterwards, of course, it was a full tear. But
yeah,
man, just to know that she tore her ACL in the fight and continued on, that is beastly. Beastly. Like I said, I've torn my ACL twice. No, my brother, Don't want none of that action.
Yeah, that is definitely heart of a champion right there. I mean, because like for me, I man, you punched me too hard, and I'm like, I'm not trying to live that life. You talking about somebody who went in there and was basically losing on the cards and needed that third round to be a finish in order to win the fight.
Yeah.
And she went out there throwing bombs and landed some big shots on Roxanne Modafferi early in the third round. When the fight went to the ground, she was actually able to almost get a guillotine choke to finish the fight as well. Roxanne was able to pull herself out of that and finish the fight on top, bloodying up Macy Barber once again. Here's the thing. I get all emotional when my fighters fight. I know they can't hear me, but I am there living it. I am the guardian angel on their shoulder 1,000 miles away. And I'm yelling at Roxanne Modafferi, sweep the leg. Like, her leg is injured. Sweep the leg in this fight, And so Roxanne Modafferi went to Twitter today, and she said that she knew that the leg was injured. She said that if she had kicked it and bruised it up and they were limping and Macy was limping because of the kicks, then she would have kept attacking it. But she saw that it was injured. She knew that she did not want to injure her leg more, so she didn't even consider sweeping the leg. For me, I was all Cobra Kai. I was like, sweep the leg. Ain't no Miyagi is dead.
That goes back to show you the integrity and the honor that Modafferi has.
Right.
You know what I mean? She's known as the happy warrior.
Right.
And she did a very honorable thing in that because, many other fighters would have been like you said, sweep the leg, Cobra Kai.
Yeah, I'd have gone for it. I'd have been like, Macy, I'm sorry. You seem nice, but this is a fight. There's real money on the line. I'm kicking that leg. You go ahead and tap. Go ahead and tap because I'm going to kick it once and I'm going to say tap. And then I'm going to start kicking it again until you tap or this fight ends. But no, Roxanne Modafferi didn't do that. So much respect to you, Roxanne. You are one of my favorite fighters because you make those kind of decisions. Those are the kind that we want to teach our children in order to do. Those are the sportsmanship things that remind us that this is a sport and not life and death on the street. All right. Let's go to some of the other ones. Diego Ferreira defeated Anthony Pettis. Showtime Pettis is in a little bit of trouble. I mean, his last fight was against Nate Diaz, and he got outclassed and submitted. Now, once again, Diego Ferreira submitted him in the second round. What is going on with Anthony Pettis, and what do you think about Diego Ferreira?
People have really underestimated this fight on Diego's part. I don't think I for one, didn't even call Diego on this one. And I know of Diego. He trains here out of Dallas. He's over at Fortis MMA. Shouts out to Fortis. You remember, I think last year, Fortis was like School of the Year or MMA Gym of the Year because they've had such a winning history here in such a short amount of time. And Carlos Diego Ferreira is one of those reasons, man. I think he's 18 and, now he's 19-2. So this is not a guy to sleep on, man. And subbed Anthony Pettis. Anthony has good jiu-jitsu. Anthony has submissions of his own. This is not some coke can guy that Ferreira was fighting against. We all know who Anthony Pettis is, former champ. So I don't know where Anthony goes from here, man, because we've seen him starting to get outclassed by some guys who, some newer guys in the game, or some guys who have just shown a better skill level or have upped their skill levels. I don't know. I hate to see Anthony lose like that.
Yeah, same here. I mean, he is still one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC. But some exciting fighters coming up. Brian Kelleher defeated Ode Osborne, the Jamaican sensation, via submission in the first round. This was a replacement fight for the Alexa Graza's Claudia Gadelha fight. There were some weight discrepancies that was taking place that caused that fight to get canceled, and so they popped in Brian Kelleher and Ode Osborne in that role. Ode Osborne was making his UFC debut. He was discovered on Dana White's Tuesday Contender Series.
Mm-hmm. So I think I told you Brian was going to win this fight.
I don't
You're like,
remember. I don't remember.
whatever. I bet you don't.
I don't remember.
Convenient memory loss. But yeah,
Yeah, it was a good fight.
it was.
It was a real good fight.
Absolutely was.
Heavyweights walked in the ring next. Alexei Olenek defeated Maurice Green via submission in round 2. This is 42-year-old Alexei Olenek. 45 submissions. He's got this guy has 70 fights under his belt. Just an old Russian dude who knows how to make people say uncle.
Yeah. Dude, I messed up his name all night long. Alexei, I hope I'm never in the same room as you. You're known as the boa constrictor, and I will forever call you that instead of jacking your name up anymore. I called him everything but his name that night.
Well, it was.
But I did call him to win, I believe.
I don't remember. Like, you gotta check. You gotta check the verdict app. Like, that's what you gotta do. Like, I don't believe anything anybody says. I gotta see what you picked. What did you pick online? That's what I want to know.
Wow.
So
I'm fairly certain I picked Alexei.
Geo Stallworth, you did pick Alexei Olenek. Yes.
Thought so.
Yes, but you picked him by knockout.
Mm.
By the way, just so you can see it, I don't know if you can see that. Combat Sports Talk, that's mine. Look at that. Who won? 716 points.
Yeah, you're up there.
Yeah, so they make fun of me. They say that I can't pick fights. They say that I'm bad. I'm horrible at picking fights. I'm not going to dispute it. I'm just saying that's what you say.
You even say it. You tell people, hey, if you want to pick fights well, pick against me.
Pick whatever I say, pick the opposite.
Whatever I say, pick against me.
In the co-main event, Holly Holm versus Raquel Pennington. This was the worst fight of the card. This was a hug fest on the cage. You say this was a good fight.
I'm not saying it was a good fight, but when you say the worst fight on the card, okay, all right. I felt like this was not a justly judged fight. I don't think Holly Holm won that fight.
I don't either. I had Raquel Pennington winning the second and third round. Even though I did pick Holly Holm to win, I had Raquel Pennington winning the second and third round. She was just landing more strikes, and Holly Holm was reacting way more than the rabbit punches that she was throwing while on the cage. I don't know. Maybe you and I are the only two people in the world who thought Holly Holm lost that fight, but either way, it was not the fight that we wanted to see. I wanted to see Holly Holm throwing kicks in the center of the ring. I wanted to see Raquel Pennington staying in the pocket and throwing bombs. Like, that's what I wanted to see. I didn't want to see a clinch fest on the cage. And I can understand how technical a clinch fest can be. I mean, Randy Couture made this a winning tactic. But I don't want to see it if you're not going to progress this and actually do some damage while you're there.
So Dana White actually got upset with the referee in reference to this fight because he felt like there were multiple occasions throughout the fight where he should have broken up the clinch fest that was going on the cage. There was not an active clinch going on.
Right.
And he felt like the referee should have taken action to, keep the action going in the fight. By an active clinch, what they're looking for, what a referee should be looking for, basically is a fighter advancing his position in the clinch or throwing strikes that are significant, landing knees, landing shots, landing elbows, things like that. If you're not doing that and you're just hugging each other out on the fence, or you're just pushing someone up against the fence, because I by no means fault Rocky for the clinch fest that went on. Much of the clinch fest was simply Holly holding her to the fence, not letting her turn, or when she did turn, actually reversing the position and putting her back against the fence.
Right. And then we covered Conor McGregor versus Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Anything else you got about this fight card before we go on to the next fight card, which is happening UFC in Raleigh? Anything you want to say before we wrap up 246?
No, we're all good. Let's move it on.
All right. Well, you know what I like to say. Let's close the book on this one and put it on the shelf because this card is history. Now we are going to look at the next week's card in the fight card. This is the fight card. This is where we look at the fights that are coming up this week. This one's the one that we're going to talk about because we're almost out of time, and that is UFC Fight Night 166, Blaydes versus Dos Santos, Saturday, January 25th, 2020, in the PNC Arena in Raleigh, North Carolina. They have 5 fights on the card. Jamal Hill versus Darko Stosic. We've got Hannah Cyphers versus Angela Overkill Hill. This is a late fight replacement. You got Jordan Espinoza versus Alex Perez. Arnold Allen versus Nick Lentz. And then the co-main event of this card is Michael Chiesa versus Rafael Dos Anjos. And the main event, Curtis Blaydes versus Junior Dos Santos in a heavyweight competition. We're going to make a couple of picks. I want to go up and talk about the Hannah Cyphers Angela Hill for a moment. So for people who follow this show, I am always critical of Angela Hill. And, you know, I always say that every time I see her fight, she loses. That's what I've said. I've always critical. I've called her Angela Underkill Hill. I've called her Angela Get Overkilled Hill. I've been very negative. But you know what? This week, even though she's a late fight replacement, I'm picking Angela Hill over Hannah Cyphers. That's what I'm doing.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know.
And
it's a gut.
Anyway.
It's a gut feeling. I you know what? No, I'm gonna tell you like this. I want Angela Hill to win. I don't want to see her lose. She has been there for her homegirl Jessica Penne. She has been there for Michael Jai White. You know, she is out there fighting the good fight. So I want to see her win something. Come on, win this fight, Angela. Win it for me. All right.
We'll see what happens, man.
We'll see what happens. Let's pick the co-main event: Michael Chiesa versus Rafael Dos Anjos. You got a submission specialist versus a rock'em sock'em brawler in Rafael Dos Anjos. Who you got?
On the front end, I'm going to say Michael, man. I'm going with Michael Chiesa. I think Rafael Dos Anjos is on the downward slide of his career, or the downside side of his career. I think Michael Chiesa comes out and gets it done. I think Chiesa's top game on the ground is, I think he's really worked on his ground and pound. He's worked with a lot of heavier guys. Dos Anjos was never really a true 170er, I don't think. Didn't he fight at 155 for quite some time?
Yes.
So I think Michael Chiesa is the one that gets it. I think Michael fought at 155 as well, but I think Michael, again, I think his top game, even though Dos Anjos is a black belt, a world-class black belt, don't get me wrong, there are levels to some things, or some things, especially on the ground. Just being a black belt in itself does not make you a specialist when it comes to that ground and pound. There's a difference there.
All right, well, I'm going to go against you, and I'm going to go with Rafael Dos Anjos. I think that the pressure that he could put on someone like Michael Chiesa, I don't know that Michael has had that type of a fight where he's going to be pushed and pushed and pushed at a pace that he's not used to. So a lot of times I think that he's fought very well in fights where he can kind of control where the fight goes and the pace of the fight, get it to the ground, and then use his jiu-jitsu to get that submission. I don't think that Rafael Dos Anjos is going to give him the opportunity to work his craft. I think Rafael Dos Anjos is going to be chasing him. It's going to be putting that pressure on him. And if he does, he's either going to get some big shots, possibly a knockout, or what I always go with is the unanimous decision.
Okay.
All right. In the main event of the evening, we've got Curtis Blaydes versus Junior Dos Santos. Who you got?
No. The last pick, you chose a veteran. This one, I'm going to choose the vet. I'm going with Junior Dos Santos.
Okay. Why?
I think he gets it done with a knockout, man. I think his experience in the game, especially his striking prowess, is definitely going to be a problem from Curtis. We've seen Curtis have issues with strikers before. Mm-hmm. If Curtis can grab him and get him to the ground, his wrestling is A1. But I think Junior is such a veteran in the game. He's dealt with wrestlers before. It's not his first time at the rodeo. I see Junior Dos Santos getting this done.
Well, you know what? I have always been a big fan of Junior Dos Santos, but I did call Curtis Blaydes the future of the heavyweight division right up until he met up with Francis Ngannou's fist. And then I was like, maybe I spoke a little too soon. I really believe in Curtis Blaydes. I think that Curtis Blaydes has what it takes to be a top tier contender in the heavyweight division. I just don't know what's causing him not to be able to put this together. He should be able to use dominant wrestling to take a lot of these guys.
There's a few things that's keeping him from putting it together. Derek Lewis, Francis Ngannou.
All right, well,
Daniel Cormier. You want me to come on?
No, I see a pattern here. So because of that, because of my disappointment with Curtis Blaydes, I think that he's going to lose another one to Junior Dos Santos. I just feel like those bombs are going to come too big, too fast, too strong, and Curtis Blaydes is not going to be able to get his wrestling done. But if he can get his hands on Junior Dos Santos and get this fight to the ground, then I'm going back the other way. But I think that Junior Dos Santos gets it done with a finish somewhere in the third or fourth round if they have enough gas to make it there. All right. Follow us on social media. On Instagram, I am at Combat Sports Talk.
I'm at GEO Stalwart.
We should start giving out our verdicts. My verdict is also Combat Sports Talk. If you don't have the Verdict app, go ahead and download the Verdict app. That's where we make all our picks. So whatever we say on the show is what we're feeling right now, but what is official is what goes on the Verdict app. So go ahead and do that. Get yourself on the Verdict app, and then send us an email or something like that. Let us know where you are so we can follow you and you can follow us, and I can show you how much better picks I make than you.
Yeah, my profile on the Verdict app is CST Stalwart.
That's
GEO
right.
Stalwart.
That's right. You can find our website at www.combatsportstalk.com. We've got we're on all your favorite podcasting platforms. We're on YouTube. We're everywhere you want to be. We're like the Visa card. We also have merchandise. This Combat Sports Talk shirt is on Amazon. You can find that on our website under the merchandise link. Check out the interviews that we've done with fighters here locally in the area. We absolutely plan to get more, talk to more fighters, let you know what talent is growing here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, some of which being cultivated by our own George G. Money Stalwart.
Speaking of, I do want to offer some shots out and a plug out to XKO, local fight promotion here in Dallas. We're going to have a fighter on their card on February 29th. He's making his amateur debut. This is their amateur series, but they also put on pro fights as well. The pro fight card is going to be coming up again in March, but this one in February is the amateur series. February 29th over at Gas Monkey Live. Come out, enjoy. Come out and support me. Come out and support my fighter. Come out and support local Dallas fighters, period, man.
All right. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Even if you don't live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, find your local fight promotion and support those guys. Get to know some of the fighters in your community because they need that type of support to definitely do what they want to do. It is a tough decision to choose to be a fighter, so support your fighters wherever they are, whatever community you're living in. I want to give a shout-out to MMA Junkie, MMA Fighting, MMA Mania, and Bloody Elbow. Those are the places where we get our headlines that we bring to you on this show. Once again, shouting out the Lion and the Crown in Allen, Texas. Thank you one more time for all of the love that you've given us and the access to your facility to put on our show live during those main events. So, on behalf of George G. Money Stallworth, this is Ryan Smith reminding you to keep your hands up, your chin tucked, and throw bombs. We'll catch you next time.